Network, this series connects students with artists of color actively working in all aspects of the arts. While today is our last Spotlight series of the season, we hope you'll join us when we continue the series next fall. Today's Spotlight series features seasoned stage managers Tiffany Robinson, Jessica Emmanus, and Ralph Stanley, who will talk to you about their wealth of experience in professional stage management for regional, Broadway, Off-Broadway, and touring productions. Today's discussion will be facilitated by the incredible Tiffany Robinson, HU alum. HU? Tiffany is a proud native of Philadelphia who holds a BFA in Theater Arts Administration from Howard University. Tiffany has had the pleasure of working professionally as a stage manager in Philadelphia, Baltimore, and New York, in addition to touring the country for the past 15 years. Her selected shows include MJ the Musical, Broadway 2021, Some Old Black Man at UMS and 59 East 59th, The Cher Show, Chicago and Broadway companies, Motown the Musical, Broadway and the First National Tour, Memphis First National Tour, Three Sisters, Classical Theater of Harlem, Dreamgirls National Tour, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Broadway, and the African American cast directed by Debbie Allen and starring Felicia Rashad. Tiffany, we really are. We're so delighted to have you here,
to be here.
And sharing your wisdom with us.
I am. And I said, I did say it. My mic was just off, but I said it. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
I just want to just get started. And so I'm going to bring out Jess and Ralph, who are the guests for this evening. They are amazing stage managers. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with both of them, and I'm not going to do their resumes justice, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So Jess, go ahead, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Emmanus. I refer to the pronouns of she, her, hers. I am an Afro-Latina stage manager, an AEA stage manager as well. I have worked on some shows. I've had the privilege to work on some great shows, including Tina, the Tina Turner musical, Company, the Revival Company, the Cher Show with Tiff, the Chicago company, and also Broadway when it came, and Harry Potter and The Cursed Child when it was on Broadway. I've also had some other shows here and there at New York Theater Workshop, as well as Williamstown and virtually. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And Ralph, please let us know what you've done.
Hello, yes, I have done some shows. I have primarily toured, so I have done Kinky Boots in Asia. I did the Motown tour. I did most recently, prior to the shutdown, I was on the First National Tour of Summer, the Donna Summer musical, Dreamgirls, and of course, as I'm asked on the spot, I'm starting to draw some blanks, but those are some good titles.
They're all amazing. So we know your resumes, but where are you from? Like, how did you become involved in the arts? Jess.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my family is from New York, like Brooklyn area, and both of my parents are immigrants. So they were immediately like, you have to be a doctor, professor, or lawyer, which I chose none of those. So, and I became involved in theater because I've grown up in that area of like, you always see the Broadway things happening. You always see like a Lion King commercial growing up, or like an Aladdin commercial, or whatever it is. So I always wanted to get to the goal of being there. But sometime in the middle of my childhood, I moved to Kansas City, where theater exists, but it's not like as prolific as it is on Broadway. So I got involved in theater there through high school and college and things like that. And I just climbed my way up until I got to New York back again.
That's amazing. And
yeah.
Ralph, is it the same with you? How about you?
It was a little different. I've been a part of the arts for most of my life. I started in church very young. I never wanted to be a performer, even though I was a performer in those shows, but somehow I found myself orchestrating the backstage needs of cueing someone when they needed to close the curtain, cueing someone when we did a new transition. And because where we were, they didn't necessarily know what a stage manager was. It wasn't until college that when I got into the arts fully, that it was like, oh, I don't think set design is what you want to do. You should take this stage management class. And from that class forward, it was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
So, Ralph, it seems like you kind of had an ideal of wanting to be a stage manager, or you had those qualities. What do you think like are qualities that make one a good stage manager? And what about your personality? Is it makes you a good fit as a stage manager?
I'll start with the qualities where it is the thinking of the bigger picture. Even though I was a performer, knowing I didn't want to perform, I was someone who was able to learn the lines. Like I still to this day am not a good actor, but I could learn lines very fast. And because I was up on the script, it was easy to be like, that's where the curtain's supposed to close. This is when the transition starts. So I didn't know I was building those qualities as I was going on. And the bigger thing that I want to say is thinking of the whole picture is really what I was doing instinctually. When I got to college, it was able to, my teachers were able to hone in on those things where it was just like, you didn't hand in your book for this class. Why? Well, all the sheet protectors weren't the same brand. You should take a stage management class. And I was like, I don't even know what stage management is. I want to design the set. And that's kind of what happened into it. So I would say the biggest quality is thinking about the bigger picture. I was always more concerned that everyone in the audience got the same show rather than what is everyone backstage doing to make it the same.
Jess, what about you? What do you think some of the qualities are to make a good stage manager?
Yeah, he brings up a good point about thinking about the big picture. I think aside from the technical part, stage management is also very personal. We have to think about the people that are there backstage, and we deal with a lot of people in a lot of different sectors. Designers, we deal with, costume people and crew. We deal with actors, most especially, and we deal with those people every day. I mean deal in the sense of like we communicate with them every day. So it's good to have that quality of like I can switch between a lot of different personalities and I can do it well and also communicate to those different personalities effectively because we're moving at such a fast pace. We need to effectively communicate to those people, get what we need to say to them very quickly, but also be able to read a room and like be able to read their own personalities and how they're doing that day and be the people person that a lot of people need you to be because it's not just about the technical, it's also about the personal because you're going to be spending hours upon hours on a show with these different personalities.
Absolutely. It's people management to some extent, really.
Yeah.
You have to sit, and also I think a great quality for stage managers to have, or a person who wants to be a stage manager to have is empathy. You spoke about like we're
Yes.
dealing with people, we're with them all the time. You never know what someone's going through, or they may have an attitude. You don't know what happened in their life or before they walked into the doors. So empathy, I feel, is like a great quality to have as a stage manager, and to remember. Now, did both of you go to college for stage management? I mean, I have BFA in theater arts administration, but I fell into it. I was a technical theater major. And then it was time to apply for like senior classes. And I was like, I don't want to take any of these classes. And they said, let's find you another program. So that's how I got into it. Did both of you study stage management undergrad?
Undergrad, no.
What did you
No,
study?
not at all. They had no. I went to undergrad. They were like, we need a stage manager, and they did not know how to use me.
Oh, wow.
So I had to make it up completely.
Really? How was
Yeah.
that though? How was, how did you go through?
I uh
How did you figure that out?
I figured it out step by step because like there were some things that they were like um the directors who are also our teachers and advisors within the program at Truman State University out in Kirksville, Missouri, uh which only had 16,000 people, The directors kind of knew how to use a stage manager, but they didn't have enough time to teach what a stage manager was.
Okay.
So it was just like, I need these line notes. So we would ask, okay, what do line notes even look like? And they kind of gave us a general idea, but I eventually had to look it up. Or like they would tell us, you have to call the show, and this is what calling kind of means, but not really. So I just had to make it up in terms of like these crew people don't even know what a stage manager is either. So I guess I just have to try to be what a stage they think a stage management is, or stage manager is. So it was a lot of like, okay, let's go with the flow, because you guys don't have time to teach it. And there's not a stage manager here to teach it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just going with the flow.
Going with the flow. Ralph, now my fellow HBCU person.
Now, yes, I have a BFA in theater from North Carolina A&T. So I did not go into school doing theater right away. I had a couple of failed majors that didn't work out. When I started in theater, I wanted to be a set designer. So that was the track that I was following when I started theater. What I originally wanted to be prior to theater was an architect. So it was just kind of my aunt was like, set design is architecture on a small scale. And I was like, sold, let's do theater. It worked out that midway through my second year of being a theater major, I was taking a directing class where I didn't hand in that book because all the sheet protectors weren't the same brand. And my teacher looked at me and said, I think you should take this stage management class. And I was like, I don't even know what that person is. Like, am I being kicked out of the program? What's going on? And they were like, no, I think you'll like this. Stage management class was terrible. I did not like being taught how to do paperwork. I was then told I had to stage manage a show to pass the class. I have never turned back. I've never been a part of an audition, anything else in theater since then. And I was like, oh, this is what you were trying to get me to do. And they were like, yeah, this is what it is when the actors are involved. And I was just like, this is not the same from class. I like doing this. If I can keep doing this, I'll be happy with what I'm doing.
Now, what is the difference between a BFA program and an MFA stage management program?
Ooh, Ralph, you want to start?
I would love to jump in there.
Go for it.
For me, coming from a BFA that didn't have a BFA in stage management, it was a lot more concentrated focus on what I wanted to do. I say this, especially as a teacher now, if you have a good BFA program or a BFA program that has an MFA program, you're getting the same education, you're getting a lot less opportunities to PSM a show. When I went to my MFA program, it was to have more PSM experience, to know how to translate that into the real world. I was one of 3 students in my class, but I was also the only person coming out of undergraduate, where they were just like, you had enough experience doing community theater and other shows, we can train you to be a professional. Everyone else had like 5-6 years of professional work. And I was just like, I don't feel like I'm up to par with what they were doing, but we had been doing the same work. They just graduated with a degree. So I would really say it's that focused, who do you want to be as a stage manager? At my particular program, I was sold on, you can do musical theater, straight plays, opera, and dance. And I was like, okay, by the time I graduate, I will know what type of theater I want to do. And I will have had a chance to do all of the things I can do as a stage manager and figure that out in the real world afterwards. So I've been able to do all of those shows since I've graduated. And if you want an MFA, it's great to get. If you have a great program that you're in, it might not be necessary to still achieve the same goals. I've worked with very few stage managers from MFA programs, and they're no less qualified than I am for any job.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that because that is very true. I went to Columbia University for my MFA in stage management, but only with the sole purpose of wanting that professional experience and also learning what I didn't learn in my undergrad, which didn't teach me how to be a stage manager. There are a lot of stage managers that like get out of college, and if they don't know how to be a stage manager, they just work until they do. But I was the type of person where I wanted to learn from the best. And I wanted to learn it and like quickly pick it up and just go for it. So I went to Columbia University, which is a program that is solely based on Broadway stage management. So there's a lot of Broadway PSMs and stage managers that come in, as well as event stage managers. So it was a lot of it wasn't a lot of teaching. It was a lot of let's talk about your type of leadership. Let's talk about who you are as a stage manager and as a professional, and just do it. Work out into the New York sphere. We're not going to hold your hand, sort of thing. But there are other MFA programs that don't do that, that teach exactly what the BFAs teach, or like Ralph said, it's just a little bit more fine tuning with a lot more professional experience.
Is there anything that you wish you'd have known before you started your professional career? I mean, having both been through BFAs and MFA programs.
Yeah, have more patience with myself. The
Okay.
thing that's so hard for me as a person who, especially like when I was first starting my MFA, was like I wanted to learn everything quickly and then get to that point of like I'm working in this field and then quickly just get up there. But the thing that I didn't realize with myself is like I have to also have patience with myself because I'm still learning. Everyone's still learning. Um, and I can't expect to get something right out of the gate, like right out of an MFA program. I can't do that. It all takes time and it will all happen when it happens.
Ralph?
For me, perfection is a myth.
Yes.
Performers, when you are in the rehearsal process, you get that month, that 2 months to get everything right before we start tech. As a stage manager, I was with you during that rehearsal process, doing schedules and doing a bunch of other stuff. In tech, I now have 2 weeks to get it perfect before there's an audience. So if you don't know your lines at tech, I promise you, I'm not going to be the person saying lines over the God mic. I'm going to be the person making sure that these light cues get right, because your entire process, I got cut in half to be like, this is when we're putting it all together. Learn everything that you need to learn. And understanding that the same way that previews is your time to figure out what you're doing in your role, it's me figuring out what I'm doing in my role of, okay, cool. I can
Yeah.
actually say all of these words to get this out to make sure that the lights hit the right spot. Ooh, I need to change this so that everything lands when it's supposed to land on the button. And we're all figuring out together so that at the official opening night, everything that you've been doing for the last 2 months and I've been doing for 2 weeks lines up and we have a great opening night.
Yeah, I always tell friends, especially like in regards to that calling and learning how to call a show. I always tell them like you again have had rehearsal, but you've had tech and previews where my first time is with a paying audience. I didn't get a
Right.
chance to practice this call. I mean, like I have, but it's not until someone has actually maybe saved their money and come to a show, and now I have to get it perfect. It's stressful. Oh, it is stressful. The thing I wish I would have known graduating Howard, I think prepares you wonderfully, especially with not just knowing that this is show business, but the business of show, but understanding this is a business. I think a lot of times, because in theater, we go into rehearsal and at the end of the day everyone's like, I love you, we're best friends, we're family, and you get so excited about being in this family. You're like, you're never going to do anything wrong. It's a business at the end of the day, and you can't really take things personal. I had an experience where we did a show, a producer came, danced down a Soul Train line, high-fived us, hugged us, and then said the show was closing in 10 days. Take off your costumes and wigs so we don't go over. And it's a business at the end of the day. And so I wish I would have stood that just a little bit more, so my feelings wouldn't be as hurt. Things like that happen, because boy, my feelings were hurt, y'all. They were. They were. So we were talking about like being in school, being professional. There are so many roles that you can play on a stage management team. We have production assistants, production stage managers like Ralph. I was like, what does he do? I know. ASMs, SMs. And you need like all of these people to make the team happen and the show happen. So Jet, I think we've all been PAs before. Have we? Yeah. So Jess, I met Jess as a PA. Can you just
Yep.
I don't want to assume that everyone knows what those duties are. It's a difficult job, but I feel like you need PAs to make sure that the team's set because I can't say this time I've done paperwork without the assistance of like PAs helping to get all of that. It's important because when you're in rehearsal for a show, you're worrying about so many other things that you need another set of eyes and ears around. So Jess, could you tell everyone like what a PA does and some of the duties?
Yeah, we do so many things, especially in a room and outside of a room. So I'm going to refer to my last PA experience, which was for company. So for company, we do anything from, hospitality restock to, taking care of the SM office, whatever that is, or the annex. We help around the rehearsal room. So if the rehearsal room is to be set for a particular day or a particular event, we do that stuff with the stage managers that are contracted. We also do anything that the stage managers that are contracted ask of us. An example is like we needed to take measurements of the house board for a company, but all of the stage managers needed to be in the room. So they sent me out to the theater to take measurements for the house board, and also just make sure that there was just room to do so, and then talk to like the house people to see where we can actually hang it. So that was one of my duties, as well as any kind of paperwork that needs to be done. I can start that. With Tina, I started the wardrobe paperwork because people were just like, here's all of the wardrobe paperwork. But there's not like set ways of like where wardrobe is going and like who it actually belongs to and costumes and stuff like that. And it takes another brain to actually like put it into an actual chart. So I did that as well. Yeah, and you could be a script PA. I did that for a company, like taking care of the script. There were rewrites. I made sure that the rewrites got out to people. Copying, pasting, also reading the room and just like making sure that the rehearsal runs. If there is a run, we help all of the transitions happen. So yeah, that's just a little taste of what a PA does, but we do anything and everything we are asked to do that day.
Everything. You're like the glue, I feel like. I do a lot of ASMing and SMing. I just not that I don't like the pressure, but I just feel like being a PSM is extremely stressful. It's a lot of pressure on you. And being an SM, I think it's important because you're there to support the PSM throughout this. Like where a production stage manager is having more direct communication with general managers, company managers, producers, casting, and dealing with those issues. The SMs on the team are there to assist more of the cast, the crew, making sure things run smoothly on deck, making sure that a show happens, that things and people are safe because there are a lot of moving parts during a show. Like just said, all of the paperwork, but then also knowing to read a room and when to go to the PSM and making sure like, I'm gonna give you a heads up, this is what's happening, and just making sure everything works in tandem. Ralph. That
Yes.
sim life is
All of
different.
those things, all of
It's
those things are so correct. Funny enough, like as you are like talking, ASMing is my vacation. Like if I just decide to maybe I'll do a play instead of a musical, if
yeah.
it's just like, nope, it's only musicals this season, I'm like, I'm burnt out. Can I be the ASM? And they're like, why? And I'm like, I need a break. I need to not be sending emails at 3 a.m. I need to not
Why?
pick up that phone because my director is in London and they're waking up at my 5 a.m. reading the report and go, we need to talk about this note. And I'm just like,
Mm.
I don't feel like giving that commitment right now.
Why?
So those are those things for me. As a PSM, I mean, those things that every school tries to teach you, but you don't fully understand until you're doing it. It
Mm-hmm.
is the whatever needs to happen goes through you. If the lighting designer has an issue with the board op, they're going to email me to talk to the board op. I'm going to be the hub of all communication as the PSM to every various department. And sometimes my job is just to say, you need to be talking to this person. I'm going to forward this email to who you should really be talking to. Thank you for letting me know. Leave me on the CC so I'm up to date, but I'm not the person to ask that question. And all of those things, to a general manager being like, do we really need to spend $800 on a new wig for so-and-so? How does it look from where you're watching the show? That's a lot of pressure to put on me when I'm looking at the show from a screen this big, or I'm sitting in the 10th row where there was a free seat to be like, I don't notice this wig. I need to check in with my head of wardrobe, my head of wigs, whoever on whatever show is in charge of that department to go, do we need to replace this wig? What is the issue with the wig that has brought it up to the wig designer that it has gone to the general designer? If I make a call on my visual eye, I didn't go to school to be able to maintain wigs. So there may be something structural that's wrong with that doesn't give the actor an issue or me as an audience member an issue looking at it. So not knowing where requests have come from and doing your homework on why did this get sent to the general manager? Does it need to actually cost $800 or could we do a maintenance fix and it's only $500? Asking those questions are the big things in being a PSM, and doing your homework of where does this come from? Why is this happening? How much does it cost? Will the designer approve this? Does it fit the look of the show? Those are all the questions I'm asking before I'm even replying to an email of, yes, we need to spend $800 on a new wig.
Stressful.
I'm tired.
It never stops. I mean, yeah, and I've PSM subbed, like when I would be on tour and the PSM would leave, and I was like, when is she coming back? Please. This is too much. This is way too much. Okay. So favorite shows. We've all worked, no matter what you've done, you have to have a favorite show, I feel. Favorite show and why? Jess.
Ooh, my favorite shows.
It could be two.
Well, yeah. My favorite show I can say is Tina, because I love Tina. It's when it starts and then it goes and it doesn't stop. Well, I mean, during intermission it stops, but like it doesn't really stop. Like the momentum doesn't. And why? Because that show was the first show. It was the first show that I got to sub on from like the PA to sub track, which is like kind of special because I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm making moves. But it was also like, it was really cool because when I actually got the track down, it was like a vacation. Like Ralph said, it was like, oh, now I can just like, here we go. I just do this, light this here. Okay, cool. And when I got it, it was just like, really cool. It was a really cool experience. But also like that music, the show itself, right. Adrian Warren, like amazing.
He's amazing. Okay. You don't have a second? I mean, sometimes you have like a top two, so that's what I was trying to.
I would listen, a close second is Cher.
You got to work with me.
Well, yes, but like that's different.
Okay.
That's different. A close second is it's Harry Potter.
Okay.
It's Harry Potter because when I did that, they were doing the first recast. So they were completely like trying to figure out what it meant to be in a rehearsal room again and do it with the show still back on stage. So I was like, yes, this is cool. I get to learn all the like backstage stuff and that's awesome. And yeah. I was such a nerd for it.
So Ralph, what are yours?
Both of mine actually happen to be my crossovers with you. Motown by far was the best show I ever had done. And oddly enough, I was the assistant. I met you as the sub PSM that week, but it was a great cast. And I can't stress, I've PSM'd a lot of shows. A good cast makes all the difference on your show. having to
Yes,
do
it does.
payroll, who comes to your office, the emails you get. If all of a sudden they like what they're doing on stage and they're nice and kind people, it made my job so much easier that I loved being on that show. The other show was the only time I was a PA, which was MJ. And it was my first time doing a show that was getting ready to transition. And it was a great experience working with the directors that led into different jobs with those directors. And it was just it was the first time I was in a process that early and realized what it really took to get a show to move to Broadway. Doing a show on Broadway that has already opened and all of that is a lot easier than we don't know what theater we have. We don't know where the dressing rooms are. This is what we think will work out. Once we get our assignments, we'll then change some blocking and where people enter here. And I'm just like, oh, I'm planning for what if. Cool. All of my paperwork is subject to change, but here's what we're doing in the rehearsal room. If we go to these two theaters you've told me about, these are where the entrances will change. If we go to this theater that we want to go to, this is where everyone will enter. Take the paperwork as you choose. And like, I never appreciated, I'll honestly say, I've never really appreciated the PAs that did all of that work till I was a PA. And I never really appreciated the assistants that put in all of that what if paperwork. I'm so focused on, you're getting ready to give me 700 cues to call in the next 50 minutes. Make sure that that's correct. And then the things that happen backstage that are just like, I'm waiting. What's wrong with this quick change? That's real pompous of me when this person didn't have a quick rig costume and my assistant is talking about, we need to redesign this costume to make the change that my PSM is yelling at me on the God mic and no one's on stage right now. And it's just like, oh, I can be a better PSM after doing this. I need to take the time to be like, this is a different world that, because I haven't done it in so long, I can't forget that this needs to happen to make me look good calling light cues and automation.
Good.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a great answer. Funny enough, with the MJ thing, I tried to get on MJ for, I feel like 3 years and it didn't work. And I was working on Cher and I used to ask Ralph about like, what is happening? So, cause I was trying to work my way in and we were like, well, if you get the gig, then I'm happy if it works out, because that's one thing I'm happy that we can say. We said it earlier, we've all worked together, but I'm always happy when people I know get jobs over me, like in the event, because maybe they're just a better fit of it. And that's the one thing I want to stress, like, you always work with the same people. Like, they're always in your circle. So it's important to, like, remember how to treat people and be respectful. Okay, I'm going to give my two shows. Yeah. So my first, I'm going to have to say, is Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I have to, because it was directed by Debbie Allen. Felicia Rashad was there, but like James Earl Jones, like all of those people were there. And so that was a PA job. First time being in New York, and they were the nicest, most humble people I've ever worked with. So I always remember, like, if they can be kind to everybody, why can't I? I can figure it out. And it was a family. Second one would have to be Memphis, the national tour. I was the ASM, and then I bumped up to the first. But it's rare that you have a crew and a cast that all love each other, and the band, and we would all hang out. And that's like, we had a cast member who was in high school, and we threw him a prom. Everyone in the company showed up. The crew were the teachers, the cast was the students. It was special. So that is my favorite too. But then also Motown, because Motown was fun. It was.
You were there for one of our graduations of the little MJs, weren't you?
I was, and I was like, oh, because the tour I was on, it was just a lot. But when I came, I was like, why couldn't I have been on this tour? Because y'all had so much fun. Not that we didn't, but.
I'm surprised you didn't say Cher, because I was there.
Oh. And Cher, because Jess was there, and we had so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
We had so much fun. So, okay, so to get a little serious for a hot second, how do you imagine that stage management will be affected by a cultural shift occurring in theater right now, specifically around the We See You white American theater?
Ooh, that's a question.
That's a question. It's a question. What do y'all think? It's a lot
I'll
happening.
jump in there.
Yes, please.
I hate to say this. I never became so popular until after that came out.
Okay.
Shows and companies I have been trying to work with, trying to get employment through, all of a sudden, everyone found my resume.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, then it became, I finally had a choice. Okay, am I going to take this position because they're looking to fill a quota, or do I actually qualify for this job? For once, people are looking for me, and I now get to make a decision on who I work with. And for me, it was the decision of who didn't make me feel like I was a token. Who made me feel like, you know what, we're opening our position. We started over from scratch. Your resume came across my desk. Or was it a, you know, we've been looking at your resume for a while and we think you're a fit this season. Those sentences read very different in an email to me when I'm just like, I didn't need any of these companies to keep myself employed, paying rent. Why would I go to the place that goes, I've passed on you several times, now I'm trying to employ you? So that has been the big difference for me of something I will stress enough, and a few of my students that I see here, know your worth when you're going into a position. I knew that there were certain companies that I was worth more to, rather than some companies that were like, you will make us look good. No, I want to work for a company that's going to make my resume look good, so that when I'm leaving your company going to my next show, they go, oh, you worked with so-and-so. Let me call that general manager to see how you were as a stage manager, versus someone saying, oh, you worked with them. I've worked with them too. That's cool. Let's see you on this show. So like, I want to make sure that I'm using that company to progress my career, rather than me helping them show that they're not being racist anymore.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Talk about it. Wow. Thinking about it, the first thing that came to mind when you said that question was, how many teams have I been involved in that were just trying to fill a quota? And then when they were trying to fill that quota, then they realized my worth and they were like, oh, I should keep this person on my resume file. And then how many jobs was I involved in terms of that? The first thing of like trying to fill that quota. And when I think back to the PA jobs that I've had, some of them, not all of them, some of them were that, in terms of like, we have some Black people in the cast, so it doesn't seem fair if all of the stage management people on the team are white, so let's just add one BIPOC person on the team, because then it makes us look good, which is not great, but it was the way that the system worked. But how do I imagine that changing? Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Most definitely, or more recently, Karen Olivo leaving Moulin Rouge, which she didn't have to because she was guaranteed a job, but because she was guaranteed that job, and because of the inconsistencies and the hardships that our theater industry is going through, and also really not recognizing or putting any actionable plans out there right now, she took the liberty of making the first step and saying, you know what, I don't really need this job. I will be okay. But until my theater industry changes, I'm not going to be a part of it. And hopefully other people follow suit. Doesn't mean that they have to quit their jobs. Just making a statement is enough. But I hope that AEA has more actionable steps of who they're working with, BIPOC organizations that they claim that they are working with, and they should provide those organizations so we know exactly, or more actionable steps that, you know, that they say that they're taking and they haven't actually listed. But I hope after this comes back, with all of the people saying that they want change and they need change, that they actually do change. because it's good to say those pretty words and to say that we are going to be more diverse in, you know, hiring our teams or hiring people on shows, but it's pretty. Words are words. Actions are actions. So I hope that people take actions, especially with no more 10 out of 12s. Can we talk about that?
That
No
was
more
going to
10
be
out
the next thing.
no more 10 out of 12s, please. Like, it drives people loopy. It just tires everybody out, and the self-care goes out of the window. It really does. I think I eat more McDonald's on a 10 out of 12 than I do like a green thing.
Probably. I'm happy you said the self-care. How do you feel about, or both of you feel about the term "the show must go on"? Do you feel that that's something that also should change once we go back to work?
Absolutely. Absolutely should change. Because if we think about it, before this pandemic happened, we ran ourselves ragged just to make the show go back on. I remember a specific example with company before everything kind of shut down and paused. People were like dropping like flies, and by dropping I mean like they were just getting sick and they didn't know whether it was the Rona or if it was like them just getting sick. So we didn't have enough people to be in the cast, and our swings didn't learn their parts yet. So that day I was called in as a PA, and the PSM was like, "Hey, so these people are sick, and we're gonna put our first swing in who has never done this role or actually ran it. So you're gonna stay by him the entire day and make sure he has all of his costumes fit. You're gonna make sure he knows all of his lines and knows all of the choreography, and then when the show runs, you're gonna make sure he goes to the places that he needs to go." So it was like, it's nerve-wracking to
Yeah.
like even think that the show has to go on, even with like swings that are not even prepared and never have touched the deck before. So it needs to change. It really does.
Absolutely. And not just like with actors, with us included though.
Yeah.
There are so many times that I've been sick and I wasn't able to like call out of a show because we didn't have a sub. There was one time, thank goodness, a principal was nervous that the Tony voters wouldn't see her and complained, and that's how I got a few days off.
Oh.
So that needs to change across the board for all of us in this union. Another kind of question, since we're on here: what is the most outlandish thing that you've been asked to do as a stage manager?
Ralph, I'll let you start.
Perform.
What did you
I
have to
did
do?
I did Dreamgirls 7 times in the same tour. The first time was when 9 people got strep, and the director called me and said, "You're going on." And I was like, "That's not even funny. So we're canceling the show today?" And he's like, "No, you're going on." And they rolled out a gondola of clothes that I had never seen in the entire tour that I had been on that fit me perfectly. And I looked at the wardrobe assistant or the wardrobe supervisor and I said, "Where did these clothes come from? I've never done a costume fitting. I've never done this." And she looked at me, she said, "I'm good at my job. Go ahead and put your clothes on."
Oh my God.
And I was just like, y'all are serious. Like, no one asked me if I knew the lines, if I knew the rhythms, if I could sing, nothing. And they were just like, "No, you're going to keep the curtain open." And sure enough, I had performed 4 different tracks. And like, it was so comical that the cast was like, "So we're canceling the show, right?" And I was like, "No, this put-in rehearsal is for me." And they were like, You've never rehearsed." And I said,
Right.
"I've seen y'all do it 150 times. I could fake it through this dance. Let's do this dance." And I remember the cast messing up the dance, watching me do the dance, being like, "Oh my God, you know the dance." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm as shocked as y'all right now. Like, let's get through today so I never have to do this again." But yes, I performed in a tour on 7 different performances throughout the run of that tour.
I think you win.
Right. I was going to say.
I will
There we
also
go.
say that's not the only tour I've performed on.
What?
Oh my
Are you
God.
I've done that on at least 3 tours where I had to play a character speaking role, not like randomly pushing random set piece off. Like, I had a role, there was a spotlight, there was like the PSM looked at me and said, "You're on."
See, that's why the show can't go on. Bless, you probably killed it in those roles.
But this, yeah, again, that's
Remember,
what
I opened with "I am no one's actor."
wow, that's something. Wow. Okay, so before we open up the floor to questions from the audience, I already have some early questions, but is there anything fun that you've been doing or any hobbies that you've started since the pandemic? Anything fun?
Yeah, video games. Something mindless.
Okay, what are you
So,
playing? Animal Crossing?
uh, y- everyone started playing Animal Crossing. That's like the game that people were like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do till I die. Like the pandemic started, and they were like, this is it. No, I'm actually playing a lot of like first person games like Breath of the Wild and Animal Crossing, and also like a bunch of Mario games. It's perfectly mindless that I don't have to like worry about anything. Also, like working out, it's such a weird thing to be like, I'm working out now. I'm actually taking care of myself. But that's my hobby, working out and video games. That's it.
Hey, it works, Ralph. I mean, you're still doing stuff.
Yes, but I'm a piggyback on working out, like that actual self-care, like it being on tour and just being like, I don't want to do anything until I have to be at the theater. Okay, cool. I need to pack my clothes. We're flying to a new city. Okay, we got 3 understudy rehearsals this week, which means I get no free days. Then I'm doing a 5-show weekend, pack and leave. Like being like, oh, I can go for a run. I can ride my bike that's been collecting dust for 3 years in my closet. Like those little things helped my mental health to be ready for, okay, cool. Now with a new career of teaching, what am I going to do when stage management opens up? And now I'm like trying to stage manage and do my classes and not lose any focus on one thing that I decide to take on.
What are you
Yes.
teaching? Let us all know.
I am currently the head of BFA stage management at Penn State.
Come on.
What?
Ohio State College. That's
Come
beautiful.
on.
That is amazing. Um, what have I done? I think we're all doing a little bit more self care, but with some friends, I started a organization called Stage, and it's stage master classes, and we, a lot of times students are not taught by people that look like them, so the whole thing is to make sure that they see themselves represented. We do privates, we do talkbacks, master classes, everything. I'm actually gonna put it in the chat.
Come on.
And then also, I've started a body product line, y'all. Body.
Yes.
Tiffany's
Wait,
Body
what?
Bakery. Yeah, get into it. To do it, it's coming out soon. It's not out yet, but by June. The hope is to have everything in order, like on my videos. So, Tiffany's Body Bakery. Remember that. All right. We're gonna
I'm gonna
open
order
this
the
up.
first like shea butter that comes out, cause
I got you. I got you. You'll get a little gift like that small, but you'll get a gift size.
yes.
But okay, question. So we've spoken about one of the questions we've already kind of hit on for the audience submitted was self care during a show. Does anyone? I don't know if we really kind of did we? We talked about self
Not for
care
a show.
during a show.
Not for a show.
So
Yeah.
why don't we hit that?
I will say this just because I have a few students here and I'm going to say it to a wider audience. Find time to shut it down. You, just because your phone works 24 hours doesn't mean you need to pick up every email and phone call that comes in. People need to understand that if you don't get rest, you're going to do a bad show the next day, and then you have to write about yourself in the report. No one wants to see those SM errors in the report when you had to write the report. For
Yep.
me personally, if it's a long show, let's say Motown, 3-hour long show, 12:30 is my cutoff because I probably finished the report around 11 or so, making sure we didn't go into overtime. But on a shorter show that's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, midnight is my cutoff. There's nothing you discovered from when the report came out to midnight that I can't respond to, that the rest of this time till I wake up, let's say I give myself 12 hours, which is the turnaround we should have to be able to respond to your email again. And taking that time off for me, I'd say I'm teaching this now, but I've been practicing this for maybe 2 or 3 years. made so much of a difference on the shows that I just recently did compared to how burnt out I felt when I finished a show 3 and 4 years ago, when I wasn't taking that time to myself to just be like, it's too late at night for me to give you that response because that's what is expected of a PSM.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. I silence my phone completely. Like, as soon as I'm done, if it's like an emergency, people can call me. Or like, before I go to bed, I make sure like everything is silenced. Nobody can call me. If you're dying, I'm sorry. But like, it really is just like shut off all notifications.
P.S. If you're dying, call the company manager. I can't call you that free Uber to the hospital.
Call 911.
Yeah,
Make sure you call help. But yeah, silencing your phone is one of the best things. Also, whenever you have a break and you actually like have a break and you can step away, step away.
Yeah.
Really just step out of that room, especially during a lunch break. When I'm a PA and no one actually needs me and I'm on my lunch break, I leave the building.
Yeah.
I go get coffee, I go take a walk, and like come back when I'm needed. And that's the best thing, is like actually stepping away from the room and not being surrounded by people going, where's this thing? Do you know what this thing is? Do you have an extra pencil? Can I get a copy of the script whenever you're ready?
Always 20 questions.
Always 20 questions. Do you see me eating?
Always. I think like it's a difference between self-care on tour and self-care in New York. Because self-care on tour, for me, it was, where am I going to eat that I may not be able to ever go back to? Let's play laser tag, or like go out exploring the city. I feel like, because that's a great way to like separate from life at the show, which can consume you. It really can. And in New York, I feel like it can be really hard, because just self-care in general, when you're working 6 days out of 7. It's really, really hard. But I mean, I think you guys gave some amazing examples of how would you describe the most effective director, stage manager relationship? Yeah.
Ooh, go ahead.
Me?
You got this, Ralph.
I got it.
You got it.
Okay. I'm going to start off with one. Every stage manager is different and unique, as well as every director. So finding a person that you can really connect with is going to be the best way to connect with your director and stage manager. For me, the first thing that I always do is that communication. How do we talk? How do we communicate the notes that need to go to the cast? How do we communicate what goes to the creative team? Because as long as me and that director can communicate, I then have the language from that director to communicate that exact same thought when the director steps away and I'm in that top chair of, does the lights look right? Terrible sentence. Do the lights look right? Is everything happening in the same transition and flow that it's supposed to happen? I will give credit to Des McAnuff. He thinks about his entire show before it is put on stage. And then all the actor's job to do is to make his vision come to life. I was there for that summer process. And then when he remounted it for the tour, and it was just like I know this works because this performer did it. If that doesn't work for you, let me know what's not working and I can tweak that vision so that you, for the sake of this conversation, you, Tiffany, feel like there's some ownership in this role and you can make that work for you because Jessica on Broadway did this, so I know it works. How's this going to work on the tour for you? And like saying that out loud made every performer appreciate what was going on, so that I, as a stage manager, when I was putting a swing in, could look at my swing and go, how does this work for you? This is what Jessica's doing on the tour. This is what Tiffany did on Broadway. I need you to find some meld of that so that your performance on the stage works. So for me, that was a long way of saying the communication that you have between you and that director will make all the world of the difference when you, as a PSM or even an ASM on deck, don't have that director to be like, ooh, do it this way, this looks better.
Good answer. I don't have anything to add to that. That was great.
I was going to say, I love Des. I love Des. He's so good.
Des is a thing. Des is a thing.
She was like, Des is, he's a person.
So, question, how would you get your name out there? Like when you first started, how did you get your name out there?
Ooh,
what are some advice that you have for people that are graduating soon?
Yeah. I mean, the simplest one is like network. Like if you need to cold email a person, a general management office, anybody, just do it. The worst thing they can come back to you and say is like, no, sorry, I don't have a position for you, or like, I can't think about this right now. That's okay, because people are busy. They have shows going on. You know, they have their business. They're human beings. If anything, reach out to them again, like later on, 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year later, and see if you can like get coffee with them, virtual coffee, take a walk. That's like socially distanced, but you know, make sure you connect with those people and just like really just go out there and go for it. The worst they can say is no. And that's what I tell my mentees at Columbia is just like, just do it. Just really do it. And if you meet a stage manager, or if you meet someone, anyone, a crew person or whatever, and you're like, let's talk and let's network. You can literally network with everybody, because you never know when they're going to be the next director, the next choreographer, the next PSM, anybody. Just network, get your foot in the door.
Ralph?
Apply for everything.
Yes.
I don't know if it works anymore, but I applied for anything that said stage management, and any job that had stage manager in it. I had gotten to a point where 3 and 4 years later, things that I had applied to, knowing I wasn't even available, those companies were like, hey, we came across your resume. Can you send us an updated resume? We have this show coming up. And I was just like, am I getting work from 3 years ago? Like, I don't remember applying to this company. What happened? How did you get my name? Who passed my name? And they're just like, no, we went through our database of all the resumes we had and yours stuck out. And I was just like, cool.
From 3 years ago.
From 3 years ago. And like, it's one of those things like stage management, your qualities and your resume doesn't get old. Either you've done nothing and like you were on one show for a very long time, or all of a sudden you have 10 more shows by the time that general manager gets around to your resume. And that updated resume is just like, yeah, I was this then and you liked me. Here's now my new resume with 10 more shows. I'm working. And it's just like, okay, cool. And like some of those jobs for me weren't even interviews. It were wow, you've done a lot of shows since you applied to us the last time. This is the show we have. Would you like to do this show? Am I the only one up for this job? Yes, cool. If I don't have to interview, I'll take that show. And it's like little things like that. Like I didn't appreciate it at the time, but until I realized that I stopped looking for new work because work was coming to me. I had realized that I had put my resume out there enough that people were passing my resume around without me having to be like, do you know someone here? Do you know this? Do you know that? Because when I was doing that, I was still applying for work to make sure I was employed.
So I see a new question in regards to this. What are your thoughts on cover letters?
I hate them.
That's honest.
I literally at times just didn't put one in to hope that my resume got it. Cause like my resume has the shows that I've done and my references. What else do you need? Like for me to talk about stage management, I feel like I would be belittling you who's looking for a stage manager. Cause if I have to explain what a stage manager is, this is not a company I need to work for. And like, if you really need a resume where it's just like, I want to make sure that we're doing the national tour of A Christmas Story, we want to make sure that you can do a show with 12 kids in it that have 2 rotating casts of children that are under the age of 12. Is that going to be a problem for you? Or are you going to be one of the people who are like, I don't like working with kids, and we passed on someone that has some community theater experience working with young performers? And like that I get. And different shows that have those specific qualities, I have found some way to construct a cover resume. But if you're talking about, just because I did this show, the international tour of Kinky Boots, you just need a stage manager. You don't need a specific stage manager. You need a stage manager that can call a show. That show is up and running. Can you read this script from what Broadway and the cues? That's what we're moving over to China. That's what they did to me. They were just like, I had no rehearsals. I had no tech. I said, can I see the Broadway show? They were like, sure. Saw the Broadway show. I flew to China to do a show that I had never rehearsed with this cast. This cast had a full rehearsal process before I got there. And I'm just like, why is the person in charge of everyone have the least amount of time to prepare for this? And everyone just looked at me and said, I mean, you called a great opening night. So yes, it's important. No, is it a thing that needs to go with every resume you send out? I wouldn't say so, but I'm not going to say that what I just said was the best advice. If they ask for a cover resume, provide a cover resume, because that's very easy for someone to pass on you, to just be like, you didn't follow the instructions.
Yeah. I haven't done a cover letter in years. A lot of it's been more people like, can you just pass me your resume? That's all we want to see is your resume. We don't really care about the rest of it. But that has just been my experience as of late.
Yeah, same. I'm just like, if you ask me for a cover letter, we can have a conversation. 15 minutes.
But there's so many times though, a lot of that I'll have people that want to get tea or just want to make a phone call. I'm like, how do you feel? You feel great? Do I want to eat lunch? I had someone actually said, I want to have lunch with you. And so, do I want to have lunch with you? That is how I staff my shows. That I want to make sure that I have a meal with you. I'm like, wait, that's it? You just gotta want to eat with me? Cool. So I think it's a little different now, but that's just from what
I will also say this, just for those coming out of college, this is from us having done multiple shows.
Right.
Yeah.
There were points where we would have been like, you asked for a cover resume, let's send a cover resume.
Yeah.
We have enough shows to be like, that's not necessary right now. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
If your resume reflects I can have that persona, good for you. If it doesn't, follow the instructions until your resume is good enough to be like, my cover resume has done nothing for me. I've just been submitting it because you asked for one. I just want to throw that out there because
you did that.
We are speaking from a different place than you might be graduating in June.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the next question. Were you able to get a job straight after college?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
If you
Long
count
answer,
grad school, yes.
Yeah. Short answer, yes. Counting grad school. But I would say that don't wait till after school to work. If you're a stage manager, try to work within the confines of school, especially if it's an internship, if you're working for like a show that needs like an intern or a PA, get that experience. Do it while you're in school. Talk to your professors to see if they can actually let you have that experience while you're taking classes. I know it was very important for me to like have that experience, so I asked my advisor, Michael Pizarro, to be like, hey, this show wants a PA and I'm gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it. And we just talked about it, and we talked about classes and what I was gonna miss and that sort of thing. But if you can do it in school, do it, because once you get out of school, you have that experience and you have that network of people, and you can keep rolling in terms of employment afterwards.
Now, I did not go to grad school, but I did work as soon as I got out of school. It wasn't just as a stage manager role. I was an apprentice at a theater in their education program, and I taught 6th through 8th graders how to write one-act musicals. And so I did that, and then there was a children's program at the theater, well, a company, and I was the stage manager-ish for that. And so I did that for 2 years prior to getting to New York. But it was a great way of like I feel like it was a nice buffer to figure out who I was and the art that I wanted to do prior to getting to New York and having to do a hustle, because it's a different hustle once you get here. Would you guys suggest internships? Have you ever done an internship in this? I mean, I know you said about internships, Jess, but have you done any?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah, I have. I've done an internship with Wicked. Uh, yeah, I think that's the only internships that I've done. I've also done shows that for grad school had to count as internships,
Okay.
like the Share Show. So I had to write that paper at the end of my work, even though I was being paid. But yes, I both are valuable. It's wherever you are in your career. It really is, and what you're able to take. I know there are some people who are like, but internships. I can say without a doubt there are some internships that do pay you, and if you want to get paid and also learn that experience, do it. If you want to take a job, take a job. Both of them are great, especially early on in your career. But I'm gonna defer to the teacher here, Ralph Stanley.
I'm on the fence. I'm gonna tell you what I normally say, and then I'm gonna say what I did, but times are very different from y'all graduating now compared to when I graduated. Internship or job, it doesn't matter as long as you're getting the experience. What I would say is you're in school. Those summers, these semesters, those are the times to work for free. Leaving and being, you have paid and got your degree and earned your degree, and then doing 3 years of free shows, you have paid your dues by earning your degree and paying for that degree. To then be told you don't have professional experience and have to work for free for 3 years to get your first paying gig, that's not going to help you. You might not be in that financial position to do that. Some people are, great for you. However, find work that is paying for your time. You paid for a degree, whether you're on a full scholarship or someone. A university got money for you to get an education. Those are your dues. Whether it's an internship that is with a great regional theater or with a Broadway show, as long as you are getting some sort of income that is paying back to what you have paid to a university, that makes it worth it for me. Not every show that I did was great or prestigious, but it gave me some sort of income to say, I'm proving that I can make a living doing this rather than I'm going to have to work for free shows and have a real job. Theater has now become a hobby rather than my profession.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's real.
Yeah, it is. So, Ralph, as the only one on this panel who actually hires people, what is some advice that you would give students? Like, or what are you looking for when you're getting like tons of resumes? Or what are some pointers or tips?
For me, it depends on my show. But know what you're applying for and know a little bit about the PSM that is reaching out to you. Even if you just applied to the show and the person that's applying you goes, hey, I'd like to see you for an interview. They've got their name, search their name, know a couple of the shows that they've done to have a conversation that you can have at your interview. I hate being the person at an interview and it's basically like you showed up and they want you to ask them a bunch of questions. I promise you, if you're being called to an interview with me, I have plenty of questions for you, but be able to engage back, because similar to what Tiffany said earlier, sometimes it's can I sit down in a room for you? At this point, being able to be in a 10 out of 12, are you going to annoy me for 10 out of those 12 hours where it's just like do you need me to do this? What about this? So-and-so has this question. You know, they're giving me all the cues right now, right? I don't have time to answer that. If you can't be in charge of what you're in charge of, you might not be the person for my show. But it may be a small regional show where it's just like I'm looking to learn. I want to get better. You're a stage manager that I know. I'd love to work with you. Yep, this is the perfect show for the two of us. Ask every question that you have because this is a show I can fully handle. So like understanding the aspect of if the stage manager has full capabilities of what they're doing, or if this is a brand new big show that they're like, I need these more seasoned people, know how to have that conversation in an interview. Be personable, be you. That professional you of, I put my suit and my tie on for my interview, and then I'm never going to dress like that again. Be you from the beginning because I'm hiring you. So if all of a sudden I got a persona of you or the best version of you, and then I never see that person again, we'll probably never work together again. Or there may be another hurdle of being like, oh, this is who you really are. Like, I would have hired you anyway. Why didn't you show up like this? So like, don't be afraid to be you, because if you're not you and they hired you off of who that was, and then you become you and there's a problem, you not knowing that that person was just like, oh, you're not who I had in the interview, you're going to start to feel self-conscious about yourself. That happened to me earlier as a stage manager, where it was just like things were great at the interview. How come you're a lot meaner? That person was putting on their persona as the PSM in the interview, where they were just like, no, I'm personable. I like talking to everyone. Yeah, we can go out and have coffee. And then all of a sudden it was like how come you don't know this? I need this paperwork. And I'm like, who are you snapping at? Like, that's not, I don't think this is going to work out no more. So knowing that dynamic from the beginning will make a lot of the difference, whether you get the job after or whether I consider you for a job later on down the line.
Yeah. Wow. So we're wrapping up soon, but Jess, are there any, because we went on things that we wish that we would have known. Are there any just tips that you can give students that are about to graduate, or some words of wisdom?
Yes, there are a couple of things. And this just ties back to what I said earlier about patience, and especially patience with yourself. You're graduating, and it's an exciting time, and you're about to learn a lot of things. But also know that you have to have patience with yourself, especially where you are. And if you have a goal in mind, you will get there. I promise you. Every show you take, every step you take in terms of your career is going to happen. And it is absolutely paramount that you just have that patience within yourself to just learn and make mistakes and just learn who you are as a professional, one. And two, right now we're in this time period that it's kind of like, I don't know what's happening. We all don't know what's happening. So also have patience with that, of like, everything's going to change, and we just have to go with the times. So be flexible, be your best person, be your best stage manager, no matter what. And like Ralph said, be you 100%, because when people are hiring teams, they're hiring you because they want to have a person that can be with for the 60, 70 hours that we're in a rehearsal room, or the 10 out of 12s that we're in. So be the best version of you, whatever that is. Don't ever put on a persona, because I promise you it's never going to go well. And things will come. Your time will come.
That's great advice, Jess.
Thank you.
Good job. Thumbs up on that. Okay. Well, Ralph, I'm come to Ralph though. What? You know what? Go, Ralph.
Okay. Use your teachers. It might not be your stage management teacher. It may be an acting professor, but use them, because they are great resources to either bounce ideas off of or to help you propel your career to where you want to be. I will say this for me, and I know she's not here, but Donna Bradby, who was the person who was like, you need to take a stage management class. I don't know if I'd be a stage manager without her saying that to me. And I still call her to this day before every job I accept. And she tells that to her students now. Like, Ralph's first job after grad school was working with the magician. And he called me and I was like, I want to tour. No one takes me serious on touring. This magician said he wanted to take me on tour. And I remember her to this day. Then go on tour with the magician. If no one else will take you on tour, do what you want to do with someone that's slightly outside of theater. I have gone back to bring all those students to Motown, summer, every time we are in North Carolina. And it's just like, I continue to look for that advice in the first stage management teacher that I had, that I hope, me being in my first year, some of those students will come back to be like, hey, well, do you think this is a good job for me? Hey, this is a job I've been offered. This is what I really want to do. What is that advice? Me being able to have that conversation with that teacher or any other teacher I've had in my experience To have that with a professor, with someone that has had that time in the professional career and knows you as a student / person, can help you navigate those decisions until you are fully confident to go, this is the show I want. This is the show I'll pass on. This is the show I want to do. Even though this is less money, I think this is a better show for me to propel my career into what I want to do. Give yourself that time to build that confidence in what's best for you.
Good answer. Y'all are coming with the answers today. Y'all really are.
Oh, one more thing.
Go for
Take
it.
everything but know your worth. Call back to what Ralph said. Take everything but know your worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's important to know it because you have to learn it over time. I know for myself, I've recently learned what that is. Something I think it's just important that students or just anyone who's coming into theater knows it's important how you treat people, to respect everyone because everyone's job is important. No matter what you do, let it be a porter, the security, take an usher, we need all of those people to do those jobs so that we can do our job. So I know for myself, every time I walk into a theater, I make sure I speak to every single person because you never know where it will take you. Key example, 2 quick stories on Motown. Like, I'm somebody who I kind of hang with cast, not all the time, but I'm like friendly. And some cast members left the Motown tour to go to The Color Purple, and they kept telling their PSM to hire me. They didn't need a sub or anything, but he took my resume and was like, maybe one day I'll use it. Fast forward, he started passing it around to other PSMs. Not because he had ever met me, it's because he went off of the word of people I had worked with. For MJ, the PSM went to the crew of the theater that the show will be in to see how I was to work with. And because of their like thumbs up, I got the job. So it's just important to realize everyone's connected and everyone is important in this field. I just want to thank you two for coming today, hanging out with us. Yeah, I just before I say anything else, are there any more questions before these two dip? Because it looks like we have like a few more minutes. I guess. Let's see. But I just really appreciate you guys coming today, and I'm happy that we were able to do this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun.
Hi everybody. I'm Kristen Jackson. I'm the connectivity director at Woolly Mammoth, and I just want to show some more love to the incredible Tiffany, Jessica, and Ralph for really just sharing your wisdom and your stories and really just offering that perspective. I feel like I learned so much today, and I feel like I got to hang out in a Zoom room with some amazing people. So just thank you for bringing that to the space and to the conversation, for bringing your whole selves. Also, for those of you who are out there, I just want to also thank all of you for attending Woolly and Howard's final Spotlight series of the season. And especially a huge thanks to Friends of Theater and Dance at Howard University, who have really made it possible for us to do the Spotlight series over the course of the last few months. As the school year wraps up, I just want to say to all of the students out there, good luck on your final projects and exams. I hope you have an amazing summer, and I look forward to seeing you again next fall when we plan to resume the Spotlight series, and bring just more conversations from these brilliant folks working in our industry. Cannot thank y'all enough. You make the magic happen. So with all of that, just want to wish everyone a wonderful evening. Go enjoy your Friday nights.
Bye, y'all. This was amazing, y'all. I'm so happy.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
No, the thing is, the person that with Howard Friends, like that was the person that made sure I graduated Howard, like full on. Like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have graduated. Charles Coward. True story.
Really?
True story. Yeah.
Mommy, you could sign off. It's over.
You can turn it off.
I see both them phones still logged on. It's over.
Hilarious. But yeah, he's the reason why I graduated. When I switched my major, he took me under wing, and I wasn't sure of where to go because it was between theater arts administration and education. And he was like, I went to his office crying like a baby. They about to kick me out. Like, what am I going to do? And he was like, we'll figure it out. And I didn't have enough money so once I switched my major, I had added on an additional semester, and I didn't have enough money to like go for a full year. So I went to the summer school, and then he had me take all of these classes, like just like kind of off record. And I got a scholarship the fall semester to pay for my housing. And then he put the classes I took that summer in for the spring semester, and so I wasn't there. And if I'm so serious, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't. And he's the reason why I got Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, is because Debbie Allen wanted people that went to Howard to be the PAs, and he is the one that was like, Tiffany, I think this is for you. True story.
Look at that.
Charles Coward, love him.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
He's
he
amazing.
is.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that I would have so much fun and get so much insight. I just didn't imagine it. Like I said to myself, I as a director, I always think of stage managers as my best friend as a director, right? Mm-hmm. But like, I'd never imagined that 3 hosting a talk back would just, I don't know, make for such a delicious evening of instruction and just invite and be so welcoming and generous. So I cannot thank you enough. This was really, really good.
Thank you.
I'm happy. Thanks.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I was like, I hope this is good.
I can't wait to point all the actors towards it and say, y'all better pay attention. Because that's the gig right there that keeps giving.